The following is a rebroadcast of TV50's Candlepin Stars and Strikes. TV50 Sport and the New Hampshire Candlepin Bowling Association present Candlepin Stars and Strikes. It's Sandy's Bowling Lanes in Windham. It's the Stearner Cooperative Bank's Mixed Doubles Championship. Split it. Look at this.
Yes! Oh, wow! Right in the pocket. Oh, there was never a doubt about that one.
And now your hosts for Candlepin Stars and Strikes, Doug Brown and Dan Murphy.
Hi, everybody, and welcome once again to Candlepin Stars and Strikes here at Sandy's Bowling Lanes on Route 28 in Windham. And Dan Murphy is here as always, and round number 2 of our Stearner Cooperative Bank Mixed Doubles Championship.
Challengers, John Potorski, Carol Moran. Should be a good one. Last week we got Jackie Stearner and Steve Vadney, and Jackie bowled superb with Steve. So she's got a win under her belt and goes again this week. Should help the team a lot.
All right, let's quickly meet our two teams for this week's program before we introduce our special guest off to my right. Our number 4 seeded team, John Potorski and Carol Moran. There they are.
Well, what can we say? They've been here before. And John carries 120 average, Carol 114. Good opponents for Jackie and Steve. Should be a high-scoring match, I predict.
All right, now last week, if you missed it, Steve Vadney and Jackie Stearner got off to a great start. They are our number 5 seed in this ladder championship, and they'll be going for their second win in a row.
I keep mentioning it. Of course, Steve has been with us so many times and bowls superbly every time he's on. And Jackie, first time, and I think she bowled 14 frames and got 7 marks. So I can't ask for much more than that of a partner. All
right, as we mentioned, of course, the Stearner Cooperative Bank sponsoring this mixed doubles championship. And we're pleased to introduce representing the Stearner Cooperative Bank Assistant Treasurer Marianne Kelly, who's also doing double duty because she's handling the scoreboard for us during this championship. Marianne, it's good to see you.
Thanks.
And we're very happy, of course, to have the bank as the sponsor for this ladder, and I guess everybody's pretty excited about it down there.
Yeah, no, we're happy to be part of it.
And I guess I imagine you're even more happy that that Jackie came up with a
representation.
That's right, a big performance from Jackie last week.
Yeah, she did bowl well for first time on TV. That was.
Well, as we mentioned last week, we appreciate all your efforts, and of course Dick and Jan and everybody down at the bank. It's good to have you here, and we're looking forward to 4 more great weeks of bowling.
We're glad to be with you.
All right. For Marianne Kelly and for Dan Murphy, Doug Brown, we're all ready to go for our second week of the Stearner Cooperative Bank Mixed Doubles Championship. We'll be back with the first string of our match right after this timeout. Don't go away. John Potorski is set to get us started here on lane 32 in this, our second week of the Mixed Doubles Championship here on Stars and Strikes. Mention John and his partner Carol Moran have each been with us before on the program, although this is the first time they have appeared in doubles competition.
Pretty nice start for John. 9-drop, tough wood though. He's got to be up high on it. No, I take that back. I didn't realize it was frozen. My eyesight's going.
That's the first thing to go, Dan, usually.
Stay away from the second thing. John first appeared with us back in September of '84 when he defeated Mark Gallant 412 to 379. And then he came back and beat Bob Dicker 444 to 398 before losing to Tim Lipke 391 to 372.
Here's Steve Vadney.
Steve has been with us several times, as you all probably know.
Altogether now, this is 15 appearances for Steve Vadney, and including the win last week, as he and Jackie combined to knock off Rick Barrett and Lois Queen. Steve is now 11-3 in his previous appearances here on Stars and Strikes.
Oh,
and that's one of the reasons why.
4 horsemen plus the 9-pin, and he makes it look awful easy.
I know you took great pleasure after the show last week in pointing out to Steve that he got fewer marks than Jackie did last week's show.
Steve and I are good friends, and, You know me, Doug. I'll take a swipe at anybody.
Hit a guy when he's down. That's your
Sure.
motto.
We have fun. Pretty close-knit group, all these bowlers, and we have fun.
2 in a row for Steve Vadney. Incidentally, for those of you who are thinking about writing in, or probably the cards and letters are in already, the final score of last week's match, as we take a look at Steve's second spare, we didn't mention it at the end of the show, but Steve wound up with a mark and 8 on it in the 10th box last week. So the final score, for those of you keeping score at home, was 379 to 331. 379 to 331 in favor of Steve Vadney and Jackie Stearner last week. And now Carol Moran.
1, 4, and 7 for Carol. Just slid by the head pin. Carol, like Lois Queen last week, does most of her bowling at the Leda Lanes in Nashua. So her partner John Potorski does most of his bowling at the Sudbury Bowl in Sudbury, Massachusetts. John, also a member of the WCBC Executive Board. Does a lot of work for us. Glad to have him.
Carol, having waited for that wood in the back to settle in, will settle for a 9 box. Carol Moran's only previous appearance with us was back in March of 1986 in singles competition when she lost to Karen DeRusso, 337 to 300. Carol had an off day that day. I'm sure she'd like to make up for that.
Carries an average of 114. Her husband Bob, pretty fair bowler in his own right, been with us on the show.
That's right. And one thing we neglected to mention last week, but certainly known to perhaps some of you tuning in anyway, is the fact that Marianne Kelly, who joined us in the Open and is working the big scoreboard there, also has a bowling husband of note, one Bob Kelly.
And this young lady here, who bowled so superbly last week, is Marianne's sister.
You and I aren't related to anybody here, are we?
Jeez, I don't know. It's a strange ladder. We got a couple people working the shows who are representing Stoneham Cooperative Bank. We've got Gary Duffett and Carol Downey in a few weeks who team up. One sits in for me when I can't make it, and Carol Downey does a big scoreboard, and just happen to be teamed up together. Lots of fun. Scotch mixed doubles.
Jackie Stearner having filled in Steve's mark with a 4, and now working over on lane 31. Jackie in 14 boxes last week, as Dan mentioned in the Open, 7 marks.
She's got the 2, 4, and 6, trying to split them. Not quite.
And incidentally, we should mention, because I'm sure probably people at home are thinking, wow, Gary Duffett and Carol Downey paired together, but it happened completely by accident.
That's right.
These teams, if you missed our explanation last week, the teams did not bowl as teams in the roll-off. They bowled in individual competition, and they were paired up according to their order of finish. And in the case of Gary and Carol, Gary finished 3rd in the men's roll-off, Carol finished 4th in the women's roll-off, and that happened to be the pairing combination. So that was how they ended up together.
Nice shot by John. Wow. Left that 7. 1, 3, 7, and 10. Split the 1 and the 3, and had 2 shots at that 7 pin, but didn't quite catch it. Nice try.
Conversely, John Potorski finished 4th in the men's roll-off. Carol Moran was 3rd in the ladies. So that's how they ended up paired together. And Steve Vadney and Jackie Stearner paired together by virtue of the fact that Steve finished 2nd in the men's and Jackie Stearner was 5th in the ladies. There will be a quiz later on. And no fair referring to this sheet, Dan, when we get to the quiz.
Oh, crib notes.
John Potorski with a pair of 9s, leaving the door open somewhat for Steve Vadney. And Steve kicking out the 3-pin, which might make this a little bit easier. He's left with the 7 and 9 and some wood.
Yeah, it's getting easier by the minute. I think just below the red line should carry him the ball toward the 9-pin, and the wood should take care of the other one. And that's how it is.
And watch out. Still falling.
6, 9, and 10 begin with, and ended up with a little smile from Steve. He gets the 10-pin left with, well, some wood out in front that looks awful inviting. Whoa. Took a little while. Looked like it was an easy shot here. One wood went right around, the other one spun, headed right straight for the 10-pin, lengthwise, and knocked it down.
Carol Moran right on the head pin, and she'll have a spare leave to shoot at, the 3-6.
Just breaking off to the left. That's what she wanted. Well, last week, Jackie Stearner and Steve Vadney jumped off to a big lead the first game, increased it to the second, and they're threatening to do the same thing this week.
Carol, of course, we mentioned her husband Bob. They live in Billerica, Mass. And let me see if I can remember the names of their 7 children. Let's see, there's Jeff, Rob, Mike, David, Russell, Eddie, and Richie, I believe.
Very good, Doug, very good. Everybody knows, sure. We won't tell.
Don't give away. It's like the magician. You don't want to tell how the trick is done.
And Carol doesn't have the names on the back of her shirt either. We're close, though.
Carol works as a secretary. Takes a 9. 80 for the team through 8. Jackie Stearner filling a mark again left by her partner. And a Brooklyn hit, little light, leaving the diamond.
3, 5, 6, 9 diamond. 83 after 6 on their way to a good opening game again. Woo.
Jackie will move over to lane 31, and mentioned last week that Jackie works at the Stoneham Cooperative Bank. She lives right in Stoneham, and she also, after checking the records, Dan, and to the best of my recollection, she is certainly one of the youngest competitors that we've had here on Stars and Strikes. Jackie's just 20 years old, and the only one I can remember younger is
no
John Waller, who I believe was 18 the first time he appeared with us.
I never knew John was 18. Seems like he's been around for a long time.
John was appearing with us, I remember, right during the height of his point-scoring streak at Hesser College. That's outstanding basketball player at Hesser College, and he was right in the middle of a great season. I remember one time when he was with us.
Well, it's another stat you'll have to add to your growing list, Doug, as the youngest competitor we've had.
Now, do you think we'll get an honest answer about who was the oldest? I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't start this category. John Potorski and Carol Moran with a string of open frames, although they've been pinning well.
That's a good-looking ball by John. Wow, wants that 5 to go. If the wood stays there, he's going to have a shot.
The 5 moved, but it did not fall. A
little high. He didn't want to come that far up in the wood. He wanted to more direct route at the 5-pin would have helped him. I'm sure that's what he was trying to do.
99 for the team. Steve Vadney now up for the final 2 here in this first string. And Steve, as you can see, is a perfect 4 for 4 with marks so far. Steve, of course, having been with us so many times, as you would expect, is right in among the leaders as far as some of the individual records that are held here on the program. The most impressive, perhaps, is his record, 11-3, having been with us 14 times before. He's rolled 7 400 triples. And there's the spare. He just eked that one out.
Not sure he hit it or the wind knocked it down. Ball just sliding by. I don't think he did hit it.
I don't think so either.
I think the wood behind it nudged that pin.
Steve's best 3-string match with us was a 466 back in November of last year. And that's good enough for the 3rd best triple we've had all time here on Stars and Strikes, 466. He bowled that one against Bob Moran, as a matter of fact. Well, a disappointing 4 fill for Steve on the mark, and he winds up with an 8 and a 123. So a 24-pin lead for the team of Vadney and Stearner over Moran and Potorski. After 1 here on Candlepin Stars and Strikes. Don't go away, we'll be right back. Jackie Stearner will lead us off here in the middle string. The team of Stearner and Vadney with a 24-pin lead, and Jackie's going to get another crack at the diamond.
Barely nearly pulled it off last time she had it in the first string. 3, 5, 6, and 9. Not this time. Again, this week, Jackie on that head pin with the first ball. But the difference this week, she's not carrying that extra pin all the time. This time, I believe that's a lob.
It was, and it'll cost her 2.
And she immediately looked over at the lob line judge, Dennis Noel. She kind of knew it, wondering if he was watching.
So the best she can do in this box is 8. And she's got it.
Get. Nice out.
It's good concentration after throwing the lob. Carol Moran. Well, this could go depending on where the wood ends up.
She's got a double piece of wood in front of the 6 and 10, so got to come up high on it anyways, and there's a possibility of her capping that wood and send the ball into the other piece of wood in front of the 7. Sounds like you need a slide ruler for this one, but yes, no, maybe. It's not going to happen.
Tapped it. That piece of wood came over and just tapped the 7-pin, but not enough.
Nice try by Carol. Carol looks like she's finding the groove a little bit, finding the range.
Good head pin pocket hit that time.
3-6 for a spare. Just didn't come back for her. Looking for that ball to break a little bit from right to left, and that time it stayed straight on her.
Pair of 10s for Carol, knocking 3 pins off the lead. It's now 21. Talking about Steve Vadney's records. As Steve comes up to a roll in the 3rd frame. Steve is also tied for 2 other records here on the program, and
Strike.
Oddly enough, they have to do with strikes.
Let's see another one exactly like that.
Steve has thrown 4 strikes in a string. He's one of several people to do that. And he has also thrown 7 strikes in a match. And he's one of several people to do that as well. Steve has 6 marks already out of 8 boxes.
Well, maybe give him a little razzing last week that his partner had more marks than him. He's going to show me this week. He'll be quick to remind me this time. I held my own, Dan, this time, this week. Good ball by John. Solid 9-pin drop, leaving 10.
Maybe Steve and Jackie have kind of made some kind of arrangement that they'll alternate.
Yeah, right.
One of them will be hot one week, and John will be ignoring the wood. Straight at the 10-pin. The spare. Needed that one. Opposite the strike by Steve. 2nd mark for John.
Another good
big
ball.
hit, but wow, he almost left the entire back row standing.
4, 8, and 9. Now that's interesting. He's got a piece of wood way out in front. Possibility of the left-hand tip. Clip the wood and have the ball fly into the 4, and hopefully the wood carry the 8 and a 9. Let's see what happens.
Ooh, that's a very unusual leave. I don't recall ever seeing that before.
No. Just didn't catch enough of the wood, I think, but gave it a nice try.
That's the way we stand through 4 boxes here in the middle string. Just about halfway through, the team of Steve Vadney and Jackie Stearner in the lead by 23. We'll be back with more bowling. Don't go away. Jackie Stearner looking for her first mark of the day.
Half Worcester left. Removes the 2 and the 8.
Oh, nice hit inside the head pin, leaving the 7 and the 9.
Nice out. Nice 10.
Almost stood one of those pins back up. Watch this as it comes off the wall. Well, you get a chance to look at it, but one of those pins stood back up again, and there's Jackie's first strike.
First strike in a couple weeks. And no doubt about that one. 1-2 pocket. And blew the pins apart for a first strike. It's got to feel good. Mentioned that these are the 2 teams that were tied for 4th, and they had to have a special 1-string roll-off, and John Potorski and Carol Moran won the roll-off, so they were seated 4th, and Steve and Jackie were seated 5th.
In fact, these 2 teams had to bowl a 1-string additional roll-off. Carol moved the 5-pin.
Catch that wood. Oh boy, I saw it coming. Just caught that wood on the nose, deflected the ball to the left, left the kingpin, that 5, and tough break for Carol Moran.
Steve Vadney now to come up and fill that strike left by Jackie Stearner.
And this is scary with a guy that can throw strikes like Steve, to have his partner have one sitting up there for him.
The 4 Make it the 6-7.
With lots of lumber. It's going to go right at the 6 pin. Just like the wood wasn't there. At 2 pieces, they're going to fly over towards that 7. Oh, he went down. He missed the front piece. Oh, my goodness. I'm going to ask Steve about that. Not even a smile. Look at, not even a smile. I think he wanted the piece of wood in front of the 6 pin as well.
On the spare. A little full, but he blew out the spread eagle.
All right, let's see.
Unfortunate there. Boy, Steve put that one down real softly.
Yes. Crisply done. Splits the 3-6 and carries that 10 for 3 marks in a row, the 4th of the string. And again, they're on their way to a nice string.
John Potorski will look at the 5-6-10.
I think he's hoping for the left piece of wood to come back just a little bit so he could play that one. That's right in the no man's land. I think he's going to try to play it, but I think he hasn't got now just a little bit too far back. But I think it was his only shot.
Dennis Noel will have to go down and clear that loose ball, and John will take another shot at the 5-6-10. And the wood still isn't in a very good position. John will be glad when this box is over, I think. Takes a 9. Once again, Steve Vadney and Jackie Stearner piling up a lead. It is now 45 pins. And John is opposite another mark here in the 8th.
Well, got a choice here, wood or the pin. Plays the pin, he's got a possibility of capping that wood. And almost didn't get the words out of my mouth, and it happened. Tough break again.
9 it is for John.
The wood is not too friendly for John and Carol Moran right now. John Potorski and Carol Moran, I should say.
Jackie Stearner filling a spare, leaving it left. It's just 3.
Make 10.
And just catching. And it'll be an 8 box.
Let's see a big one.
Well, for the first time in 2 weeks, Jackie seems to be struggling just a bit.
Make 10.
The winners of this match will move on and face our number 3 seeded team, Pat Pay and Pat Kerr.
Nice out by Jackie.
Next week, the runners-up today, of course, will receive the runner-up plaques from the N&R Trophy Company of Winchendon, the copies of Jim Fairhurst's new book, The Light Side of Candlepin Bowling, provided by John Grapponi Ford Incorporated, and they will also split 5th place prize money of $75. Oh, a chance for Carol Moran to make things closer here. That's a big spare.
Big spare, and it wasn't for 2 pieces of wood, could be 3 in a row. But unfortunately, that's the nature of this game. An inch here, an inch there, and it's the difference of making a spare or not. And
that was Carol's first mark of the day, by the way. Just missing the head pin. It's a 9 and a 103. So the totals will go up on the big board for John Potorski and Carol Moran, 202. For Steve Vadney and Jackie Stearner, 245. The third string is upcoming. Don't go away. Ready to go for the third and final string.
And much like last week, Jackie Stearner and Steve Vadney enjoying a comfortable lead. But as we all know, being around this game as much as we are, anything can happen. Double strike here, and all of a sudden, back in the ball game.
Oh, John gave that a ride. John Potorski is from Waltham, Mass. Works as a machine engraver. We talked about John's 3 previous matches here on the program, Dan. What we didn't mention is the fact that in those 3 matches, he averaged 136 per string, which is a 409 because of a fractional addition above the 136. It turned out to be a 409 match average. Not too bad.
So he's capable of throwing a big game, and that's what they need right now. The wood hasn't been that great for him. Now, this looks good, but there's another piece of wood resting right against the 8 pin. So you got to watch out for that one. Whoa. Almost went around it. It clipped the wood in front of the 8 and it started to go around, but was enough to knock it down. The wood has not been friendly for the team of Moran and Potorski.
Steve Vadney now. Steve has thrown 10 boxes so far, and he has 8 marks in the 10 boxes.
Got the 2, 4, 7 on the left with a 6 and a 10. Piece of wood in between, but 2 pins the object. Inside or out, he's got a shot at it. Well, I didn't quite figure it'd go that way, but...
Wow, almost.
Oh, Steve's saying, what happened? I should have gone that way.
Picks up 3 more in count, but now he's opposite the mark by John Potorski. Some very good scores in the men's roll-off. Dan, of course, we talked about the fact that the roll-offs were held individually. Rick Barrett, who was on last week, won it with a 693. Steve was just 1 pin behind, 692. Then Gary Duffett at 687. And then John Potorski was in 4th place among the men at 667.
Nice shot by Steve. 4, 6 in the 7. Piece of wood in between. As you see, plays the 4 and the wood at the same time and clears it for the spare, matching the spare of Potorski and Moran. One of the biggest balls of the match for Carol. And gets 6 fill and really has to string together now. Got to hurry. Seems to be having the same trouble that Lois Queen had last week. Just can't get that ball to break back in when they need it to, like that one.
Wanted that pin to go, figuring she might get more, but it turned out to be...
Look at the 5 pin. He slid it. She slid it right in next to the 8. Got a good shot at it.
Nope.
Well, I guess I'm here to point out the good and the bad. And right now, even though they've not scored that well, they've been bowling a decent match. The woods cost them a few shots. I'm talking about John Potorski and Carol Moran. And they could just as easily be within a dozen pins or 10 pins, but not so. A lot of times you bowl well but don't score.
Again, Jackie Stearner almost converting the half Worcester. The 2 fill, by the way, was on a spare left by Steve Vadney. And Jackie works out of it with a 10.
Show me a big one now.
And another shot at the diamond. This side, the left side, 2, 4, 5, and 8.
Yes, there. Take 10.
And it's another 10 for Jackie, and we will pause right here. All even in this string. Steve Vadney and Jackie Stearner lead in the match, though, by 43 as we head out for a break, and we'll be back with the last 6 boxes of this match right after we have these words. John Potorski in the 5th frame now, the 3rd string. It's not out of reach. It's still possible.
No, it's crunch time right now, though. He's got no choice but to start putting some marks up there. A little light. You know, possibilities. Got to pinch that 3-pin. It might go right around the 5 with the angle of the wood, though. Nice shot.
Wow.
Oh, I tell you.
He's had a couple like that.
I just got through saying, sometimes you bowl well, but you don't score. Quarter of an inch here, quarter of an inch there, and you got to looking at a mark instead of a 10 box. Tough break for John.
By the way, in case you're wondering why we haven't flashed up the address for the bonus ball contest the last couple of weeks, it's because as we are taping, this is the final 5-week ladder championship of the season before we take a vacation for the rest of the spring and summer. So that is why we're not accepting any more postcards. However, should some of you want to send some postcards in, we'll certainly be glad to put them in the box and get them ready for the fall. But we'll be giving you, again, more chances in the fall when we come back on for the 87-88 season to send in those postcards. So you may want to just hang on to them, and we'll tell you more about it later on in the year.
Well, John finally covered the 4-7. No way that one's going to stand up. He finally got a decent shot at a spare, and he made it. And, well, like you said, Doug, it's not out of reach yet. 4 boxes to cut into that lead.
Steve Vadney from Claremont. Quite a distance from here, but he seems to make it worth his while every time he comes down.
Okay, one of those delicate shots. He got a clear shot at the 5-pin. Doesn't want to clip that wood. It's next to it. He's going to drive it right straight through, though. Nice shot.
Matches John's mark. That is the 10th mark of the match for Steve.
Big ball for Carol. We'll try to keep something going here. Oh boy. Well, she overcorrected now. She's got the ball breaking, but it breaks sharply to the left. Missed the head pin. 3 fill. Nice try. You're seeing the effect of this type of format. You bowl 2 boxes, sit down for 6. It's not normal in any kind of bowling match, head-to-head competition like this, except for teams. And it's a real different. Using the teams, you get up, you bowl 5 boxes usually, not 2. Tough time finding the groove.
Carol Moran wrapping up her efforts for the day with a 9 and 82 for the team through 8. And now Jackie Stearner will come up and fill that mark in the 6th and bowl her final 2 of the day.
One, 3, 5 in the 8 pin in the back.
Take 10.
$10 for Jackie.
See a big one.
Barring a minor miracle here, and they'll be back next week to defend their championship against the next team, which would be a pair of Pats.
Yes.
Pat Pay and Pat Kerr. I remember Pat Pay had a good streak a couple months ago before losing to the final Bill Gover in the championship round. But he had 4 straight 400s. Remember Pat Pay, so he'll be back next. He'll be here next week with Pat Kerr, I believe from Manchester. Merrimack.
Close.
Just across the river.
Jackie wrapping up her day with a couple of 10 boxes. And that will leave things now to John Potorski. I was going to say it's got to be all strikes, and just coming up a little bit short on that one, leaving the 9 pin.
It's the kind of day that John and Carol had. It just when you think they were going to put something together and string them, they get a bad piece of wood or a low count on the mark. But it's another day at the office for these bowlers.
That's John's 5th mark of the day, by the way.
And again, 4, 7, 10. Not a bad-looking ball going in, but well, I think he's going to make this. Going to snap the wood in front of the 4. Just go at the 4 and 7 like the wood wasn't there, and see what happens. That's what he's doing.
No. So for John Potorski and Carol Moran, it's a 109 in the 3rd and a 311 3-string total. Steve Vadney will finish it up, and as he does, we can tell you that Steve and Jackie Stearner have won their 2nd consecutive match. And we are going to come back in just a couple of minutes with the bonus ball contest and wrap it up here on Stars and Strikes. So don't go away. We'll return in just a minute. All right, we are back here at Sandy's and with Carol Moran and John Potorski, the runner-up team today. I know we were talking a lot during the show about the fact that you guys seem to be hitting some shots, but the pins weren't falling. I guess that happens sometimes.
It does. You don't get any breaks, so, you hit them and they don't go, and you start pressing, so then you're done for.
You've both been here before, and of course it's different being in here in this format, the doubles format. But John, particularly you had some tough breaks. You hit some good shots.
I was on the head pin good all day long. No complaints at all. No breaks. That's the name of the game. You'd rather be lucky than good.
Well, we're glad to see you both here again for your 2nd try, and we do have some things for you to remember us by. We have the prize money, $75 split between the two of you, the books from Jim Fairhurst, and also the runner-up plaques from the N&R Trophy Company of Winchendon, and we hope to see you both again real soon.
Thank you
very much.
Thanks for coming and seeing us. John Potorski and Carol Moran, our runner-up team for today. And now we will send things over to lane 31. Steve Vadney led the team of Vadney and Stearner in marks today, so Steve will get a chance on the bonus ball, and Steve rolls a 2. Well, Steve, if this is a match, I'll eat the postcard. How's that? It's 9, luckily, for me. Joseph Robinson from Manchester, New Hampshire. So, Joseph, you don't get to see me eat the postcard, and you also don't win the money, but you do get a TV50 NHCBA desk pen, and the jackpot will go up to $40 next week, and 2 in a row, and this time you let Steve do the work.
Oh, yeah.
Steve, you must have, it looked like you really had things in a groove there. You hit, I believe it was 8 marks your first 10 boxes.
Yeah, and lost it in the 3rd, but luckily, the team's working well. She carried us the first match. Came my way that 2nd match.
All right, well, now next week, now that you've won 2 in a row, The competition, of course, gets tougher as we move up the ladder, and next week it's going to be Pat Pay and Pat Kerr. Any thoughts about that match?
No. Get all we can. That's all we can do.
All right, Pat, of course, a veteran on our program as well as you are, Steve, and we'll be looking forward to that match next week. We'll see you then.
Thank you.
All right. Steve Vadney and Jackie Stearner with 2 wins in a row, and this does indeed set up our matchup next week with Pat Pay and Pat Kerr coming in.
I think it's going to take more than 350 next week to win. Pat Pay, of course, was with us just a few months ago and just went crazy on the show. 4 400s in a row, almost won the championship ladder from coming in sixth place all the way up the ladder before losing to Billy Gover. So interesting note that his partner Pat Kerr, like Jackie Stearner, never appeared on our show. And it was a good omen for Jackie Stearner. We'll see what happens with Pat Kerr next week.
All right, incidentally, I'm glad you mentioned that the final score was 350 for Steve and Jackie, because I had neglected to mention that 350 to 311 was the final match score in today's match. So that sets it up for next week. Our number 3 seeds, Pat Pay and Pat Kerr, will be here, and Steve Vadney and Jackie Stearner will look for their 3rd victory in a row. We hope you'll join us next Sunday at 12 noon and, of course, Saturday at 5 in the afternoon. Until then, for Dan Murphy and the whole TV50 Sports crew, Doug Brown saying so long, everybody, from Sandy's.